Once or twice you come across a cryptid that's so fascinating, but also so chilling, that it really leaves you lost for words. This is one of them. The Arkansas snipe is a lumberjack cryptid, or fearsome critter, that takes the form of a giant insect, namely a huge mosquito. And yes, mosquitoes are horrifying creatures that drain blood to satiate themselves, and yes, it's a gigantic one, so it treats humans in a manner that's about as horrific as you can imagine. Even worse, we have no tales of what it actually did to some of these people, because they were never seen again, meaning we can only speculate as to the horrors they went through. The legend of this cryptid tells that a lumberjack was lost in Arkansas. He went up a hill to orient himself. When he came back, his horse wasn't there, because 2 Arkansas snipes had eaten the horse, and not only had they eaten the horse, they were so vicious that they'd even consumed the saddle and spat out the horseshoes. Worse, a farmer in Arkansas once had these giant insects devour his cow, but not only did they devour his cow, so powerful were they that they actually brushed their vast teeth with the cow's horns. Another famous story in this regard tells of an unnamed salesman with a man named Daniel. They were both walking around a swamp, then they heard the bell of a cow, and, just as I would have done, happily went to go see it. But when they arrived, they just didn't see that the cow had been killed. That wasn't all they saw, but they saw that a gigantic mosquito was standing atop it. And not only was it standing atop it, but it was actually shaking the cow's bell. Yes, it was intelligent enough to shake a bell, to impersonate a cow, and big enough to pick up the metal cowbell easily, shaking it to call the other cows to their fate. The mosquitoes were said to have been so big that they looked like raccoons, because they had claws so huge that if they kicked a cow, they would pierce right through it. And then there's also the story of Bill Jenkins, the largest man in Arkansas, who got up one night, thinking all was well and good, and 2 huge snipes not only ambushed him, but picked him up and carried him away. And it gets even better, or worse. The mosquitoes began to talk about if they should hide him in the swamp to eat later, but decided not to hide him in the swamp because, much worse, bigger mosquitoes would steal their prey. He got away to tell the story, presumably during the argument, but I imagine that the revelation that giant human abducting mosquitoes exist might have put some pressure on his psyche. To add to this, there's a story that a man managed to capture, the term is hide, 2 of these mosquitoes under a cauldron. I don't know why the term is hide. Maybe he captured them, wanted to keep them as pets and didn't want anyone to know. Maybe he'd captured them and didn't know what to do with them. But the mosquitoes, so terrifying were they, actually made holes in the cauldron. The man responded by pulling off their prickles so they couldn't escape, but that really didn't help, because the mosquitoes flew away with the cauldron and the human. It's not known if this was their plan all along, if they were enraged on account of this, but either way they took both the pot and the person. It makes you wonder what they were doing with the pot. Were they planning to plug it up and use it to cook him? Were they morbidly fascinated? Was it a kind of petty trophy? Since they can debate, hide and cook, it makes you wonder what other awful things they can do. The Arkansas snipe, to me, is one of the most disturbing cryptids, partly because it's hard to even call it a cryptid. Yes, it's an animal, but it's an animal that speaks, plots, plans, strategizes, executes plans, and can learn languages. It's more like a being. I mean, I'm aware that it's a cryptid in the sense that a cryptid is a mysterious animal, but part of my brain has a hard time calling it a cryptid owing to its creepily human-like behaviour. Then again, spirits can talk, speak, and interact, so maybe it isn't so unusual.